Hello, my friends. Jen Dice here. Welcome, welcome. If you're on YouTube, smash the like button, share. If you're on Twitch or Twitter, wherever, share the love, spread the coup. We are going to mostly talk today about the Capitol bomb threat suspect, who is now in custody, and I'll be waiting for additional information to come in. But I think that there are some important points that most of the media is not getting. So, everyone, let me know if you can hear me, if you can see me. We'll wait for some folks to start coming in more rapidly or more, I don't know, words escape me. We'll wait for some more folks to come in and then we'll get to it. If you have not been paying attention to the news today, then you may have missed what happened. And what happened is that a gentleman from North Carolina drove up to DC, to the Capitol area, right in front of the Library of Congress. And he went live on Facebook on the way, on his route, and said he said he was not going to detonate bombs, but that he had others with him, or not with him physically, but that there were 4 or 5 other bombs set to go off. And a lot of what he said did not make sense. But we're going to analyze this for several different reasons. And again, we're going to really get into the meat of it once more folks join in, once our text message alert goes out and our email and all that stuff. But I really want everyone to take what I'm going to say and what I'm going to present to you with how I intend it. So what I'm going to talk about is that this guy, this bomb threat suspect, Floyd, he talked about a lot of things in his videos, in his Facebook Lives, which are now taken down, by the way, but we have them. So one of the things, though, that he talked about was how angry he is and how upset he is that that his health insurance will not pay for his needed treatment so that he can walk for what seems like pain in his legs. He didn't get into great detail, but he went into his doctor and was told, no, your health insurance will not cover this. His wife had skin cancer and she was told, no, your health insurance will not cover this. So he talked about the fact, and we'll play this part, that they're still paying for his wife. He says they essentially had to chop her nose off her face because of the skin cancer, and insurance wouldn't pay for it. They're still paying. So he doesn't, I can't speak for him, but from everything we know from his social media and everything else, his past comments, he's definitely not a Medicare for All supporter. He is a major, major Trump supporter. Just yesterday, he shared a video from Donald Trump Jr., which was railing against Joe Biden. But this really is a guy who is at the end of his rope due to the situation in our country, due to what everyday people are facing. Unfortunately, for the first time in his life, he voted for Donald J. Trump in the election. And he reportedly was very angry about the outcome of the election. Now, he has turned his anger towards Joe Biden. He's angry about Obama, of course. But what I'm going to try to show, and that's why this show is starting late, is because I was trying to gather things that were now deleted by various social media outlets. David Bond says, who cares if he's a Trump supporter? Why does status quo always demonize these people? Well, buckle up, David, because that's exactly what I'm not doing. I will always demonize racists, and he indeed is a terrorist, but I am not demonizing him. What I am specifically pointing out is that this guy is at the end of his rope. He's been radicalized online. He's been radicalized by Trump. And David, if you take issue with me saying radicalized by Trump, like, bye. But please hear me out, because the point I'm going to make, I believe, is a very important one. And I believe strongly most of our viewers are progressive and do want Medicare for all. And what I'm going to talk about proves that this is exactly what we need. Even if he doesn't realize it, this is exactly what Floyd wants. But he is devastated by his health issues, by his wife's health issues, her skin cancer, the fact that there's no help out there. And he's done. Now, we're not going to play absolutely every video that Floyd posted. And the reason for that is because I want to be careful and not get this video deleted from YouTube specifically. So they've taken everything down about this guy. Facebook took all of his lives down. When people try to re-upload them to YouTube, etc., those get taken down as well. So I don't want to do anything that will get our account in trouble or compromised. I mean, it's clear that we are adding commentary and things like this to what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to play a very, very small snippet. So stay tuned for that. And I also have a bunch of deleted Facebook posts of Floyd's. Again, if you're just joining us, smash the like button or share. If you're on YouTube, of course, smash that like button, share this stream, whatever platform you're watching on, share, spread the word of status quo. We are being suppressed, but you won't hear this basically anywhere else because reliably, the media has taken a certain stance and politicians are taking certain stances. And I think you can probably guess where everybody lands. But the point that everybody is missing is exactly why a lot of our viewers and myself are supporters of progressive policy, because progressive policy would have prevented Floyd from getting to this place. And that's what we're going to talk about. But before we really dive in, I want to make it extraordinarily clear that everybody knows the way. So when we talk about the fact that Floyd has done this, again, I can't get into anybody's head. I can't make any diagnoses, but he's doing this out of desperation. He's doing this because we're in a real mess in this country. But when I say that and when I talk about that, I do not want anyone to take it as me excusing the behavior of Floyd, excusing the intended terrorism of Floyd. And I want to make it extraordinarily clear that if this were a Black man, the outcome would have been very different. When Floyd was taken into custody, it was done basically without incident. Floyd surrendered, etc. But he was sitting out there by the Capitol in front of the Library of Congress for hours. And we're going to play a part of this, a part of the police's press conference. When the police talk about him, I want you to be thinking, what would the police be saying if this were a Black person? What would the narrative be if this were a Black person? And it certainly wouldn't be what we're going to see. The police officer starts out by saying, well, we know that his mother recently died, and on and on. Well, okay, that is likely a factor. That's just definitely likely a factor. But if this were a Black person or a person of color, that's not what the starting dialogue would be. That's not what would be highlighted at, in this press conference. So I want to make it very clear that there's an extraordinary amount of white privilege here. It's the same sort of privilege that we saw during the Capitol insurrection. We've said it over and over. If that had been a bunch of Black people storming the Capitol, there'd be blood bloodshed all over the place like crazy. It wouldn't have been allowed to happen. And just like we're seeing here today with this white terrorist from North Carolina, his actions are being excused. So when I talk about the fact that he's at the end of his rope and that there's an element here that we all need to pay attention to, which is that Americans are desperate. And when people are desperate, when they don't have healthcare, when they don't have money, extreme things can happen. Extreme things can happen. So welcome to everyone. Again, if you're just joining us, my name is Jen. And yeah, we're going to be diving into various facets of the bomb threat today, and talking about some things that others won't talk about. Because Sandora says that's not true though. Blacks would, but first of all, don't say blacks. That's not an appropriate way. So Black people protested all summer and weren't shot doing it. They just got arrested. Cassandora, I mean, that's a lot. There's a lot to dissect from there. Black people are murdered all the time in this country. I am saying if they stormed the Capitol and tried to bring guillotines and threatened to hang people, politicians, that outcome would have been very different. Black people are murdered all the time by police in this country. It is just a fact that Black people are treated dramatically differently than white people, least of not which today in Floyd. So so I see a lot of comments. Maybe we'll take some time to do some Q&A and hear your thoughts later on. But I do want to dive right in. So let's get some overview first. Colin, if you have that New York Times article, if it allowed you to pull it up. New York Times, of course, go ahead and pull it up. I'll just talk until it's up. Okay, good. Oh, yeah, it is up. So New York Times, just a little background of why I said that. New York Times has stuff behind the paywall, and we do have a Times subscription, but it's a real pain in the ass. I firmly believe in not putting important news behind a paywall, but that's a story for another day. So let's go through what happened. This is out of the New York Times by Emily Cochran and Maria Kramer. Man surrenders to Capitol Police after bomb threat near Library of Congress. The police closed off several streets and sent alerts to congressional staff members, prompting evacuations. A man who claimed to have a bomb in a pickup outside the Library of Congress surrendered to the police on Thursday after hours of negotiations and evacuations of several government buildings in the area. The man surrendered peacefully, Chief J. Thomas Manger of the Capitol Police said at a news conference. As far as we can tell, it was just his decision to surrender, he said. Chief Manger identified the man as Floyd Ray Roseberry and said it appeared he had acted alone. Mr. Roseberry, 49, drove a black pickup onto the sidewalk of the Library of Congress at about 9:15 Thursday morning, and officers then responded to a disturbance call, Chief Manger said. When the police arrived, Mr. Roseberry said he had a bomb, and one of the officers observed what appeared to be a detonator in his hand, Chief Manger said. The police spent hours negotiating with Mr. Roseberry. At one point, the police used a robot to bring a telephone to Mr. Roseberry, but he declined to use it. The police said later Thursday that a bomb was not found in the truck, but possible bomb-making materials were collected from the truck. So I want to stop and point out that in his videos, Roseberry said that there were 4 or 5 other bombs around. So that was one of the concerns as well, is that not only was there a danger in his pickup truck, but that there were dangers other places around the city. So the chief said there were items in Mr. Roseberry's truck that concerned them, including a propane gas container. Charges will be determined by the U.S. Attorney's Office. Mr. Roseberry, a resident of Grover, North Carolina, was making anti-government statements, according to a law enforcement official. Chief Manger said that the police had spoken with members of Mr. Roseberry's family. Andy Stone, spokesman for Facebook, said they took down the videos. In the rambling video, he addressed President Biden, demanding to speak with him or a representative, and sometimes showed a metal object in his lap. He described himself as a patriot and expressed grievances with Democrats. He repeatedly said he did not want to die or hurt anyone, but warned that the device would explode if the police fired at him, though he offered no evidence to support that. In alerts to Capitol Hill staffers on Thursday morning, the police urged some people to move inside offices, lock doors, and stay away from windows, and told others to evacuate to designated assembly areas. The Metropolitan Police Department assisted with the report of an active bomb threat, on and on. Lawmakers actually are generally on recess, so that is one positive. Today, once again, the Capitol Police, FBI, and other law enforcement dealt with a potential threat to the Capitol Hill community, said Speaker Nancy Pelosi of California in a statement. The immense gratitude of the Congress, blah, blah, blah. They talk more about the various evacuations. So one thing that I have to point out that is not really being pointed out is that we have video evidence that there were a ton of just passersby for a long time going by Floyd. And there was even money. I did not see him throw the money out the window, but I believe that he did. I apologize if I'm wrong on that there were dollar bills scattered, and I'll show you that. But I find it interesting they're not talking about the fact that Floyd was telling people, hey, you need to get the cops to clear the area, get the cops to clear the area. And it took a long time for that to happen. And with this money on the ground, people were walking by and picking it up. And he kept saying, you got to tell, it seemed like he didn't want people to get hurt. But it took quite a long time, which I find disturbing. And that this took hours. Let's see here. So now they're investigating. We're kind of waiting for more news to come in from this investigation, and so on. So to paint a picture of this, it really is most helpful to see some video footage of him to kind of have him in your mind, kind of have his demeanor, his so-called vibe in your mind as we talk about this going forward. So Colin, if you can pull up the clip that we put up on Twitter of Floyd talking about medical needs and healthcare.
No, I went to the doctor yesterday.
We're just going to play this clip. There is a lot more footage, but again, I don't want us to get in trouble. So go ahead and listen.
I went to the doctor yesterday. I was going to get some of those cell therapy shots they've been bragging about giving to the athletes all these years. Just so I'd be able to walk. Well, I go in, get ready. The doctor says, oh, no shots today. Insurance don't cover it anymore. Really? My wife goes to the doctor. She's got cancer. And they told her it wouldn't cover it no more because it was cosmetic. It goes on her face. Cosmetic hell, they had to take half her fucking nose off. Still going today. Paying for it. Where's your insurance at? Biden? Obama? Where's your insurance at?
So I'm sure a lot of you out there can kind of sympathize with that clip. If that clip is all you saw or knew of today, you would probably say, yeah, I get it. I get what this guy's going through, because so many Americans are going through this, because we are the only so-called civilized, advanced nation that doesn't have health insurance for all of our people. So again, here is a man who's at the end of his rope. One of the sad things is, in addition to the fact that he is now a terrorist, is that he doesn't realize what would help him. So he rails against Biden, as you heard, and Obama. In other clips, he talks about Nancy Pelosi in the context of saying, and I will read you some quotes in the context of saying, I love you, Nancy, I love you, Joe, but you got to go. You're not helping us. That's a paraphrase. Like, you're not helping us. We are suffering, and you got to go. And he says stuff like, I've been sent here by the American people, and it's truly a man who's desperate. Now, it's also a man who obviously did an incredibly horrible, dangerous thing. A man who has white privilege, a man whose white privilege is being shown through the way the police are talking about him and the way the media is talking about him. But this is still, this is a man who is desperate, whose wife has skin cancer, and who is having trouble walking because he can't afford healthcare. So what this shows us, and what I think is important to highlight, is that this is what the American people need, even if they don't realize it, like Floyd here. Floyd was sold a bill of goods by Trump. For the first time ever, Floyd voted, and he voted for Donald Trump, and he was reportedly very distressed by the outcome of this election because he was sold a false bill of goods by Donald Trump, who purported to be a populist, who purported to be someone who would help the American people, and of course did nothing of the sort. But does that make Biden any better in this particular situation? Is Floyd's life made better? Was Floyd's healthcare declined just because of Joe Biden? Of course not. But Floyd has also been radicalized online, and he's been lied to, and he's fallen into the trap of propaganda like so many do. And the whole point of politicians and media and corporations and pharma and the health insurance companies, they don't want people who are struggling like Floyd to realize that the answer is single payer healthcare. They don't want people like Floyd to realize that. They don't actually want to help the American people. They want people like Floyd to just keep on keeping on, keep on voting for the wrong people, keep on supporting the wrong policies when Medicare for All is truly what we need. Thankfully, people are waking up to that. Colin, if you can pull up the, hopefully I popped this in the morning consult poll that's titled "About 7 in 10 Voters Favor a Public Health Care Option." So I want to show you, thank you so much for the super chat, Gato Love. Thank you. So this is a morning consult poll that I wanted to pull up to show you that finally the American people are starting to see through the propaganda, including Republicans. So this is really the most recent that I found. I didn't have a ton of time to dig in because I was putting so much else together, but this was out as of March 24th, 2021. So 7 in 10, the headline here is 7 in 10 voters favor a public health insurance option. Now, they titled Medicare for All remains polarizing, but I think that is a mistitle. I think that's a purposefully done because the numbers are really good. Even for Medicare for All. So we have the vast majority at least favor a public option. And let's look at these numbers here. So 55% of voters support Medicare for All. So that's all voters, including Republicans, support Medicare for All. So I wouldn't say that the headline of Medicare for All remains polarizing is necessarily true because the majority support it. And it also depends on the way that they worded the question. When the question is worded in a way that makes it clear that it is, of exactly what it is, rather than a question that kind of misleads people, then people generally want it. So Democrats, of course, favor it at 79%, while Republicans support it at 28%. So that, I suppose, is where they're getting the term polarizing. But you can really, as you can do with all statistics, you can pull whatever you want and make whatever point you want generally. But the fact is, most support Medicare for all. And again, 7 out of 10 support at least a public option. So people are starting to wake up, and people can be mad at Bernie Sanders if they want, whatever, but he moved the Overton window. He helped people understand what Medicare for all is and what it means. So this is where we are, at least as of the latest data. And I think it would take nothing at all, really, if the media and politicians would talk about Medicare for all as it truly is, and wouldn't fall prey to their lobbyists and donors. But of course, we live in the real world of the United States, so that's not going to happen. But look at that. Even with all this propaganda, there's a lot of support for it. So here we have Floyd Ray Roseberry, and he is in a desperate state, desperate for healthcare. And this is what he did: drove to the Capitol and threatened multiple bombs. So there's a lot to that, but I think it's so important. And I think that this is really getting lost in the media. No one's talking about this. In fact, the only place that I found any mention of this, and then the place I saw it to begin with, was actually Raw Story. So kudos to Raw Story for pulling that quote, sending me on a desperate search to find the actual clip that was taken down, which thankfully we found. And Sarah from Raw Story was kind enough. I'd already actually found it, but she was kind enough to send it to me when I made it clear. So shout out to them. Thank you. But I really think it's very, very important to highlight that this is a desperate man who doesn't have healthcare. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but I think it's extraordinarily important, if you're going to talk about this, to let people know about this part of it. It's a huge part of it. Why isn't it getting talked about? It's huge. It's not going to be talked about by politicians unless they already actively support Medicare for all. It's going to be buried. So that is what I really wanted to highlight. Now, some folks are saying that they don't sympathize. So this is Doobie Brother. I do not sympathize with this man. Again, as a Black man, I could care less. North Carolina is racist as hell. I completely understand. Yeah, I completely understand. So as a white person, like, I don't want to downplay. And so that's why I've tried to highlight, obviously, if this were a Black person, the outcome would be dramatically different. Black people are being murdered all the time by police. There are very specific systemic things set up designed to make Black people fail, die, and get ill. We just reported in Flint, as we do all the time, Jordan and myself, on the fact that they are letting, and in some ways purposefully, causing the illnesses and deaths of a majority Black and poor city. So what I mean to say is that out of context, like if you only saw this, white hillbilly from North Carolina, whatever you, I don't know if hillbillies are in North Carolina. That's what we call like people in rural people. That's what people in rural areas around where I live call themselves. So apologies if whatever. But if you only saw that part, this man talking about the lack of healthcare and the fact that he can't get help and his wife has cancer, yeah, that's where I do have sympathy for that. Where my sympathy goes away is when you try to bomb the Capitol. So that is not, that gets no sympathy at all. But part of what I try to do, and this is why I got my degree in psychology, is I always want to know what makes people tick. I want to know why things happen. Why? Well, I think the answer is desperation. And it's, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. So I completely understand your point. And it's a complicated issue and situation. It's also, a class issue as well. So this isn't a rich white guy. This is like a guy who can't afford his health care. So I completely understand. I'm not asking anyone to be sympathetic. I am just pointing out that this is a symptom of our very, very sick country, among many, many symptoms. So next, I want to take you through some of the things. Again, I cannot play all of these videos because I don't want to get our videos taken down, but to get this video taken down, because they've taken down basically all. It was a real hellish time trying to get all the videos so that we could get transcripts done. So what I want to do next is read to you some quotes from what Floyd said. And so to set up the context, Floyd made the video clip that I showed you about the healthcare on his way to DC. And then he sat there parked on the sidewalk in front of the Library of Congress for hours before police cared. And then he made additional videos as well. So Colin, if you can pull up the 31-minute transcript, please. So what we did, we have we use Happy Scribe, and we can get transcripts and do subtitles for videos. So this has not been edited. I just simply popped it in and let the machine do its thing. So if it says anything like weird or off, other than like the weird or off things that Floyd said, then that's why, is because it was an automated thing. But I just wanted to point out some things that he said. So this was one of his longer videos. This was from one that was about 31 minutes long. And so I'll read just part of it. What fucking people think it's a joke, but they cleared the block. They need to get Joe Biden on here because this baby, it's awesome. I'm not hurting nobody, Joe. So the context for that is he really was like calling out to people, trying to get them to close the block and to like get all the people to go away. It seemed important to him that there were no people around. So I think that's interesting as well. And he kept saying he says here, there's no way for me to blow us up. Only you can by shooting a bullet through my window, like suggesting that it was rigged. He said, you shoot me 2.5 blocks going and you're talking about a revolution. And he keeps talking about, he said, I told my wife I'll be home Sunday. And so he says, several times, like, I want to go home. I don't want to hurt people. And he really wants to talk to Joe Biden. And he also references his other patriots. So here he says, I'm looking for all my other patriots to come out and help me. I got the foundation built. People, I'm here. They know I'm here, and I've told them to clear off all the blocks. We cut off healthcare. I can't even get damn shots for my, I don't believe the correct word is bike. It's probably knee or leg, as he said earlier. But yeah, they're giving them superstar athletes. So again, he brings up healthcare. This is a completely different video where again he talks about healthcare, and then he says, "I'm trying to get Joe Biden on the phone. I'm parked up here on the sidewalk. They don't realize that I can't set this thing off when the bullet hits the windows." And then he talks about snipers being on the roof, which they're on social media. Photographers did put those up. And then he keeps talking to Joe Biden as we go into the second page. He says, I'm here for a reason, Joe. I'm here for a reason. I'm here for the American people. If you want to take me out, take me out. But when the patriots come, your ass is in trouble. He says, and I'm the little man, I'm the speaker. So if you blow my truck up, hey, I'm ready to die. You said if you could do anything to save one life, you said you would do it. I don't know if the I'm ready to die for is correct, because in other spots he says he does not want to die. I want to go home Sunday. I want to go home and see my wife. We're living in a free country, Joe. Choice is yours. If you want to shoot me and take the chance of blowing up 2.5 city blocks, because that toolbox is full of nitro, I don't want to die. I want to go home, just like the people in Afghanistan. I want to go home. Then people's lives are in your hands. All them dead people's in your hands. And so I want to highlight that he's talking about Afghanistan, because as I'll show you, yesterday, he shared a video from Donald Trump Jr.'s social media talking about Biden's so-called failure in Afghanistan. So he goes on, Floyd goes on to say, Afghanistan, I'm standing for you. The mother effer should have bombed their asses and made sure, let's see. So if they blow me up, Afghanistan, I hope somebody takes revenge on that. I'm a patriot. So he goes on, as you can see. Again, this was 31 minutes long, so making sure there's not anything else that I want to highlight. Yeah, he keeps saying here on page 4, I'm a good patriot. So here's where he talks about the so-called other bombs, which there are so far not physical evidence for. So he says, the blood is on your hands because I can't set this bomb off, Joe. Only you can. Your word. We'll set this bomb off. When this bomb goes off, there's going to be 4 more right behind it. And then the Patriots are going to come, because I don't know what else that says. Better talk to me, Joe. You need to send somebody out here to talk to me, because I'm not going to hurt nobody. I promised, my God, I will not hurt nobody. I promised my wife I would not hurt nobody. I would not kill myself. I don't keep that promise on the American people watching, and they're coming. 4 more is already here. If I was you, man, I'd go ahead and lower all those flags, half staff, because they don't deserve to be standing so high. He goes on, they don't even deserve to be standing with the Democrats up there doing what they're doing. You all know what they're doing, Democrats. You're killing America. You're killing America. You're making people want to leave America. It's supposed to be a place people don't come. Let them come. Black, white, lesbian, gay, LGBT. It don't matter where, Americans. You can sit up here and tell us what to do. This is your option. You got the option, Joe. Let's see. And then he talks about the money that he has. He has like coins and bills. So he like breaks in and talks about that. His thoughts are not coherent. They don't flow necessarily. He goes back and forth. He keeps talking about going home Sunday. Okay, so on page 6 is where he talks about the money. So he says, I pulled up here and I threw out about $3,000. And so people like at this point in the video are just walking, like can walk by and pick up the money. And at one point I guess he thought that one of the guys picking up the money looked wealthy or something. And he said, you don't need that. Put that down. Give it to somebody who needs it. Stuff like that. So it goes on and on. His goal here, he really, really wants to talk to Joe Biden. So as this whole thing goes on, he just keeps talking about wanting to talk to Joe, and keeps talking about the Democrats. He in certain places mentions that he loves Joe Biden. He loves Nancy Pelosi, but they've got to get out. And I think at one point he wants them to like leave America too. And let's see here. On page 9, he says, I'm doing federal prison. You step down out of office. I'll step down out of this truck. You go home. I'm going to federal prison. Nobody deserves to die. People's tired, Joe. Just send somebody here. Talk to me. I'll tell you what they want. First thing, I want airstrikes in Afghanistan, kick the Taliban's ass and keep them from killing people. So that is a one of the segments. Colin, if you can do the one that's 11 minutes PDF. So this is another video, and this one's much, much shorter. This one was only 11 minutes long. And this is not even all of them. This is not even all of them. So tell the police to come out here and clear the Capitol. These fucking people think I'm joking, don't they? Hi, man, will you call? I've called 911. I told them to come out here and clear this place out. So he's literally at this point yelling out his window to passersby and being like, I have a bomb. Why does no one care? I've told everybody. No one's clearing out, which is absurd. Like, what are the DC police doing? Once again, they need to clear it up because I got a bomb in here. I don't want nobody hurt. Yes, sir. I don't want nobody hurt. I'm not coming here to hurt nobody. You can have all of it if you want, meaning the money. He's talking about the money. And you're welcome to pick it up because I swear to God, I will not hurt this place. I'm here for my own. No, sir. Money is not my point, ma'am. You spread it out and you get the people who need it. So again, not to say that this guy is like a good guy, not by any means. He is in fact a terrorist. He is, I find it psychologically interesting that he does not want to hurt anyone, which having a bomb is not the way to do that. But anyway, and he says, spread out the money. I brought money. And in the next section, he says, I'm not lying. Tell her, take her some more. I brought money for the people. So here, I think my assessment of this is that he sees Americans are struggling. So many people are struggling. And he has talked about his healthcare needs so much. He goes on to say, please clear the area. You can have it, man. Pick it up. Take it wide. Get all you want, man. You get all you want. That's yours. Because I don't try to call Joe Biden. Joe Biden wants to talk to me and they don't understand. He keeps saying it's not a joke. And then he calls out to another passerby saying, God bless you. Hey, brother, this is for all of us. Thank you. Thank you. This guy is into socialism and doesn't know it. He goes on and says, help the people, man. Help the people. Please clear the area. And then he goes on and says, I need a 2-block area cleared. And he says, I've called your office. I've called 911. They think it's a joke. He keeps on saying you need to clear the area, 2-block radius. People keep walking by and taking money that he's thrown out of the window at $3,000 worth. He says down at the bottom of page 2, this is heartfelt for the people. All the veterans out there to sit out there, nobody helped them. This is for all. People out there need medication and they want to give it to the junkies for free. Hey, man. Have them clear this area within 2 blocks. If you presented him like Bernie Sanders' platform and told him it was from a Republican or told him it was Trump's platform, he'd be for it, I think. Like, he is doing socialism. He just doesn't know it. And he's been radicalized, which again, we will get into. So on page 3, Joe Biden, you can stop this. Sir, I'm not going to hurt you. So he's speaking to a passerby. If you would please walk through my window, sir, I promise I will not hurt you. Sir, this is all I'm doing. I'm not going to let this bomb go off. But if these windows break, you see that little speaker there, it sets off on decimals to clear the block. Joe Biden, I'm not hurting nobody, but I think these flags need to go to half staff today, brother. I'm telling you, my windows pop, this bomb is going to go off. It's made for decimals. Your military experts who have gotten their legs blown off are the ones that built this. And yeah, so he keeps talking. And again, as I said, there are additional videos, but I think you get the point. this is a guy who's desperate. This is a guy who has been radicalized. Dana Plato says, define radicalized before saying he is. Okay. So by radicalized, I'm going to get into this, but his social media presence shows his path of radicalization. And, what more evidence do you need than the things he says in all of these several videos, and the fact that he went today to set off bombs in the Capitol and threatened the president? Like, that's radicalized. So yeah, but I hope that sort of answers your question. I think it'll make more sense, Dana, once we get into the other parts. So Colin, if you can, let's go ahead and talk about some of those other parts. If you can pull up the collage, I guess, of some of his Facebook posts. The one at the top left says it's almost time. That whole, there you go. You already have it up. Okay. So this is part of what I'm talking about. So Ray, so his name is Floyd Ray Roseberry, but he went by Ray Roseberry, and he also goes by Bubba Roseberry. So this is all taken down now. So credit to Paul J. Salerno, who, based on his LinkedIn, is a syndicated journalist, and he captured this. So credit to him. And as you can see at the top left here, he said, this is Ray, or this is Floyd. It's almost time. Take an extra pair of civilians' clothes for our heroes who can carry arms in. Biden, you're fired. No isn't an option. Flee our land. So this was recent. And then in 2020, after the election, he posts, Facebook, you stink. You're nothing but a lying Democrat politician. Yourself, go ahead. Don't show the Mega Million Man March, crybaby. And on November 7th of 2020, he said, Joe Biden, you're not my president. And the rest was so he wants you raise all the prices. You're scum between my toes. November 6th, my opinion, all these Republican states are holding back on votes to prepare for the riots that's going to happen after Trump wins. And then November 15th, every video of the Mega Million Man March to watch on somebody else's site does not play. Yes, they're trying to stop showing support. Not here. Facebook, Trump 2020. So that's just some background social media posts so that you can kind of get an idea. Dana, relax, okay? Dana's saying these tweets are mild. This is average people every day. Yes, not that radical at all. Yes. So what happens with radicalization is that it happens over time. All the evidence you need is that he tried to bomb the Capitol today. It is threatening the president. I mean, that's radicalization. So radicalization happens over time, as I stated. So I don't get what the the not getting is. Next, can you, Colin, please pull up the where he shares the TikTok images, and then after that we'll show the actual TikTok video. So here's part of it as well, where he has fallen into this kind of trap that so many do, where all they follow are these people who are lying to them, and who are not only lying to them, but are stoking their fear every single day. Every single day, they're making these people scared and making these people want to fight back. And that's what's happening in a lot of cases on the right. So Colin, if you can, so in this image that you see here, he's linking to a TikTok. And this TikToker is a conservative TikToker, and you'll see what the guy says.
things that you got out of that clip was that we don't social distance. We don't care about COVID. We don't care about wearing masks. We don't give a fuck what the media has to say about it. Idaho is highly conservative. We are highly Republican. We are highly self-aware of what's going on around us. We know the tyrannical governments, they don't have the fucking means to shut us down, to control our businesses, to take care of ourselves. We are not gonna try to sustain our livelihood off of fucking welfare. We're here to take care of our families, and that's what we're gonna do. And by God, we're not gonna let anybody fucking stop us. So if you're for this, and if you're for me, and we have the same morals, we have the same values, and we have the same views, you need to like this video, you need to comment, and you need to fucking follow.
So that is some of what Floyd was sharing. And you can hear the language. I mean, as part of my job, I have to watch some of these people and like hear the way that they speak and hear how people are, yes, radicalized. So he's talking about that the conservative guy on the TikTok, he's talking about, you're not going to stop us. You're not going to stop us. And weaponizing COVID, weaponizing social distancing, weaponizing everything. And so when you watch TikToks constantly of people telling you, we're not going to stop, we're going to take our country back, Biden is lying to you, Biden's the reason you don't have health care, Biden's doing XYZ, Nancy Pelosi is XYZ, that's in your head all the time. Beeball points out Fox News, etc. Yeah, there are actual studies done on Fox News changing people's brains. I wish I could remember the name of the documentary about a documentarian who shows what happened to her father with Fox News. Well, now we're way beyond Fox News. Now we're on to guys like this, TikTokers. I don't have any evidence that Floyd watched OAN or Newsmax or whatever, but we're way beyond Fox News at this point. So when you hear this all the time, it changes you. It changes you. And when you are, yes, truth teller, thank you, brainwashing of my father. I've yet to watch it, honestly, and I really want to. It's fascinating to me. Again, I always want to know what makes people tick. What happens to people? What leads someone to go drive to the Capitol because they're in need of healthcare and they're down on their luck and their wife has cancer and threatened to blow up the Capitol? Well, it's desperation, but what happens over time? So next, Colin, if you can pull up the images of the guns. So this is additional stuff that Floyd posted on his social media that the people were quick enough to grab. So this is one image that Floyd Ray Roseberry posted, and this was back in July. So, people have guns. People have different thoughts about guns. Okay. But they're not, those guns are not in a vacuum. That's not posted in a vacuum. And next, can you post about the trench coat? Colin, put up the trench coat. So more social media postings from Floyd. I really, really, really wish that I'd gotten a hold of this Facebook before it was deleted, but I didn't. Bummer for me. So here's what he posted yesterday. Gears coming in was 2 days ago. I believe that this was snapped today. So I believe that this means 2 days ago, he said gears coming in. So this is him kind of prepping and getting ready. And then yesterday he posted, my trench coat will be here Friday. So this is him just prepping over time. So when you talk about radicalization, a year ago, he wasn't threatening to bomb the Capitol, right? A year ago, he wasn't driving to DC from North Carolina with weapons in his car. A year ago, he was voting for or planning to vote for Trump for the first time. He'd never voted before. He'd been struggling. He's a conservative, but he didn't seem that he was politically interested before, since he'd never voted before. And so he fell, it seems. And I'm going to keep studying this guy. It seems that he fell into politics because he was swayed by Trump. He was swayed by Trump's populist message and Trump's lies and Trump's charisma and Trump's swearing to the American people that he is the answer, that he's going to change their lives. And of course, that's not going to happen. And then it seems that Floyd found a variety of right-wing, very, very right-wing influencers and liars and propagandists. And it led to this. Now, people are responsible for their own actions. He reportedly has some mental health issues, and he's obviously down on his luck and desperate. None of that excuses any of this at all. And again, I want to reemphasize, when I talk about the psychology and the things that lead to this and the desperation, it is not excusing this. I really want to say over and over that if this were a Black person who had done the exact same thing today, the outcome would have been dramatically different. So please no one get my words twisted. I'm always learning and growing, but I'm trying to present this in the way that I mean it. So if you can pull up, Colin, the him sharing Donald Trump Jr.'s video. So this is Floyd shared this video yesterday. This is Donald Trump Jr. This is his video, and listen to what Jr. has to say.
Curious to hear your reaction of this consequential speech by the American president. Didn't run from it. He owned it. He owned his decision. He owned the fact that, as he put it, the buck stops with him.
I hope he gets to own their deaths too. I feel like I watched a different speech than the rest of you guys. I was appalled. There was such a profound, bold-faced lie in that speech. The idea that we planned for every contingency. I have been personally trying to tell this administration since it took office. I've been trying to tell our government for years that this was coming. We sent them plan after plan on how to evacuate these people. Nobody listened to us. They didn't plan for the evacuation of our Afghan wartime allies. They're trying to conduct it now at the 11th hour. The thing that they were most concerned about was the optics of a chaotic evacuation. Well, they got exactly what they were most concerned of by failing to do what was right when we could have done it. We had all the people and equipment in place to be able to save these people months ago, and we did nothing. I'm appalled that he thinks we only need to take 2,000 people. There's 86,000 people who are currently left behind in Afghanistan alone. We've identified all of them for the government. I have no idea why he claims that people don't want to leave Afghanistan. I have a list of 14,000 names right now of people who want to get out of Afghanistan. And the idea that the Afghan military should be blamed for this, do you know how many?
Yeah, so just a little clip. We don't have to play the whole thing to show you that this is, no, that was not Don Jr. speaking. That was Don Jr. sharing on his social media No, it's guys, it's not Don Jr. So Don Jr., just to show it to you, it didn't, we don't have like the where it's Don Jr. sharing it, but that is Don Jr.'s video that he ripped from MSNBC, put his little Don Jr. tag on and shared, and he added that text above, like even Democrats, blah, 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 blah. So that is Floyd shared Don Jr.'s post, shared that video of Don Jr. And I highlight that to say that he's deeply entrenched in the Trump world and in the Trump narrative. And so what these people do is grab anything that they can find and use it as propaganda, as part of this. And so as you heard when I was reading some of the transcript, is that I lost my train of thought. When I was reading the transcript, is he brought up Afghanistan, and he said, he is, this is a paraphrase, but Floyd said, I'm worried about the people of Afghanistan. You should have bombed the hell out of, the Taliban, defeat the Taliban, like you're failing. And so this was on his mind. Afghanistan. Well, of course, Afghanistan is on all of our minds, right? It's in the news. It's major. It's devastating. I strongly believe it was absolutely right to pull out of Afghanistan. But there's a whole other discussion and thing to talk about related to what happened afterwards. And if we should have been there for 20 years, hint, the answer is no. But that was at the top of his mind, was this so-called failure of Joe Biden in Afghanistan. And I can't analyze Floyd. I don't have him in person here, but he shared that yesterday of Don Jr. Sharing that MSNBC clip and railing against Democrats, railing against Joe Biden. So that was on his mind. And that is what he was talking about in his Facebook Lives today. So that is just part of this the actual radicalization of Floyd. It's scary. It's horrifying. And you know what? The Republicans are definitely not going to take this for what it is. They're going to use this for political gain. Republicans in office don't care that there was a bomb threat at the Capitol today. They don't care about any of this. All they care about is using this for political gain and for spin. So, Colin, if you can pull up Mo Brooks's statement. Aye, my friends. So, Representative Mo Brooks, hold on, my friends. I'm pulling up his profile while you read that there. Okay, yeah, I wanted to check his district. So he's Alabama's 5th district congressman. So this is what he had to say. I am aware of the Capitol bomb threat. I'm monitoring the situation. I am in Alabama. My Washington staff is accounted for and safe. I pray for the safety of Capitol Police and first responders on the scene in Washington. Sadly, violence and threats of violence targeting America's political institutions are far too common. Although this terrorist motivation is not yet publicly known, and generally speaking, I understand citizenry anger directed at... Okay, so this makes me so furious. I can't even get through this. Okay, so Mo says, I understand citizenry anger directed at dictatorial socialism and its threat to liberty, freedom, and the very fabric of American society. The way to stop socialism's march is for patriotic Americans to fight back in the 2022 and 2024 elections. I strongly encourage patriotic Americans to do exactly that more so than ever before. Bluntly stated, America's future is at risk. I can't, guys. I can't. How could you, in good faith? Well, of course it's not in good faith. How could you tweet that without feeling just like a total demon? How could you tweet that? How, Mo? How could you tweet that? It's because he doesn't actually care about anything. He only cares about painting Biden as a socialist or whatever, pretending we live in a socialist nation. No, dude, the freaking terrorist just talked about his need for healthcare. He wants socialism. He just doesn't know it. In fact, Mo, your terrorist just threw $3,000 out the window to redistribute to the people. He's doing socialism. He wants socialism. It's just demons like you, Mo, who trick him and brainwash him and the other patriots into not realizing what they want. I am just astonished. Like, what the hell, Mo? What the hell, Mo? I cannot, like, the brain rot of like politicians in general, but Republicans. I just, how could you do that? How could you tweet this? I don't even have anything like well thought out to say except for WTF. That's absurd, and it makes me very, very angry. Very angry. Oh my God. Let me make sure I don't have. Oh, actually, if you can pull up, Colin, the image of the money, just so folks can see it, from Super Mama, the tweet. So this, so you guys can see, like, this is the $3,000 that he threw out the window, and like was telling people to pick it up. This is, he wants socialism. Floyd wants socialism. So people were picking up the money. And then it was kind of like, I got like, sometimes you have to find a little bit of humor in really dark times. But it's kind of funny. Like, this well-dressed guy walked by and picks them up. And I already mentioned this, but I think it's kind of funny. And the guy's like, you seem like you have enough money. Give it to someone who needs it. So yeah, it's a really interesting event to analyze. Obviously, it can't go unstated that this is probably going to keep happening. Stuff like this. We had the January 6th insurrection, and now we have this. We have people calling for patriots to take to the streets. We have Floyd here, this guy, calling for additional patriots to see what he's doing and to follow in his footsteps. It's a call to arms. And these folks who are radicalized and who are radicalizing others, it's happening all over the place. I monitor Telegram channels full of people who are radicalized in our country now. Well, subreddits, but they've shut a lot of those down, but it's still out there. Parler, I just got an email from my undercover Parler account that Parler's back up and running. And there's a lot of opportunity, let's say, for people to be radicalized, and more, and this is obviously not an easy decision or topic, but more and more, these people who maybe would have seen other ideas on Twitter or on Facebook, they're being pushed off of those platforms because of the radicalization. But the downside to that is, in addition to, you know, whatever your personal thoughts on degrees of censorship are, but it's also pushing people into like dark corners of the internet where they never see any ideas other than calls to arms and news about Democrats like eating babies. And so that's what they see, which is extraordinarily dangerous. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. So we'll do a little Q&A after this, but I want to cover Daniel Hodges before we move on to that. So if you guys will think back all the way back to January 6th, when John Farina, freelance cameraman, freelance photojournalist, captured the historic and very important footage of Officer Daniel Hodges being like crushed in a door and his mask being pulled off. I'm sure you guys saw that. We were able to license it to outlets all over the world, CNN, BBC, HBO, Showtime. It was used in the Trump's second impeachment. It was used by the FBI. It's been used all over the place. So I'm sure you've seen it. But I wanted to give an update because the guy who did it, specifically did the most harm to Hodges, has been sentenced. So Colin, if you can pull up the video first, just so people can kind of recall what this is, the one from Ryan J. Riley's tweet. So that is a small clip of the longer footage. John's ribs apparently still hurt from that day. He put himself in great danger and did the country a service in capturing that footage. So major kudos again to John. But I wanted to refresh all of your memories on specifically what we're talking about. And by the way, that I believe that specific clip, like usage of that clip, was when Hodges testified in front of the select committee. I could be wrong, but yeah, they watched that, like Hodges watched that footage and testified, and it's like incredibly heartbreaking. I mean, obviously we cover a lot of police brutality and horrible things that police do. But I mean, I can't help but feel horrible for Hodges, and that shouldn't have happened, and it's awful. So next, if you can pull up that article, Colin, the Forbes article. So here's the latest update. Capitol rioter charged with beating DC officer Daniel Hodges with his own baton, which is freaking nuts. The Department of Justice on Wednesday announced the arrest and indictment of a Texas man accused of beating DC Metropolitan Police Officer Daniel Hodges with his own baton during the January 6th attack on the Capitol, an incident that went viral and was recounted in emotional testimony during a January 6th Select Committee hearing. Washington Metropolitan Police Department Officer Daniel Hodges. Oh, that's just a clip. Okay, so key facts. In a superseding indictment of 9 Capitol riot defendants who stormed officers in a tunnel at the Capitol's Lower West Terrace, Stephen Cappuccio faces a multitude of charges, including assaulting an officer with a deadly weapon and robbery. Federal prosecutors accused Cappuccio, a 57-year-old from Universal City, Texas, of stealing a baton from Hodges, identified in the court documents as DH, and using it to assault him as he tried to repel the rioters. The DOJ said in a statement, Cappuccio was the previously unidentified man in a video, which is our video, released by the Federal Bureau of Investigation that showed him attempting to rip off Hodges' gas mask. Hodges, who would later become crushed between 2 doors, maskless, and bleeding from his mouth, testified to the Select Committee that an attacker bashed me in the face and head with his baton, injuring his skull and rupturing his lip. All 9 defendants in the indictment are accusing of, I think they mean accused. All 9 defendants in the indictment are accused of participating in the tunnel assault, including Ohio resident Dave Mahaffey, dubbed hashtag Tunnel Commander, online due to FBI video that shows him giving orders to rioters. By FBI video, they mean status quo video, but you know. The video of Hodges' assault has become one of the most prominent examples of the violence and bloodshed of the Capitol riot, in which hundreds of supporters of President Donald Trump stormed the building in an effort to stop lawmakers from certifying President Joe Biden's 2020 election victory. The video was played during Trump's Senate impeachment trial in February, in which he was acquitted for inciting the attack, despite 7 Republicans voting to convict. Again, a status quo video. He never uttered any words that I recognized, but opted instead for guttural screams. I remember him foaming at the mouth. He also put his cell phone in his mouth so he had both hands free to assault me, Hodges said of the attack in congressional testimony. And so, yeah, we don't, oh yeah, so 570, that's how many people have been arrested in the 7 months since January 6th, including defendants from nearly all 50 states and 170 charged with assaulting or impeding law enforcement officers, according to the DOJ. So, I mean, wow. Major kudos to John for capturing that footage. And major kudos to us, I have to say. Major kudos to Status Coup, because that is what we do. We actually report on the ground. There's a reason that CNN and BBC and HBO and Showtime and ABC and NBC and literally every outlet that you can think of licensed that footage from us. And no, we did not get as much as we should have for it. But there's a reason they had to do that. It's because they don't do that kind of reporting. It's because they don't do real on the ground reporting. And so without that video, who knows what would have happened? They could have used Hodges' recollections, but it's a real, I mean, when you're being attacked and you're in a tunnel and you can't move, like, what are you going to do? So that video was crucial. Very crucial and incredibly historic. So kudos to us, but also kudos to you guys, because without our viewers, we wouldn't be able to do the reporting that we do. We work really hard. It's our passion, and it's something though that we feel we wouldn't choose any other way. Jordan and I started Status Coup because we have a shared and I think very important vision for what journalism is supposed to be. So I'm proud of us, but I'm proud of you guys, because without your support, we wouldn't have been able to fund that reporting. We wouldn't have been able to, pay John's day fee. And by the way, he was showered with bonuses as well. And that is something you guys can all pat yourselves on the back for, because you guys are the ones who are funding our in-field reporting trips, funding our investigative reporting. You're the reason we were able to break our latest Flint investigative story. And we thank you. We're going to keep going for sure. And we just got back from an in-field trip where we reported on Nina Turner's race in Ohio. Unfortunately, on a personal level, I wanted her to win because I support her policies. And then we were near Flint. We were 3 hours away from Flint and couldn't stand the thought of not going physically back to Flint. And we captured some of the most heartbreaking and important interviews there that we've done. And we physically printed out and handed out our story to the mayor of Flint, to the local congressman of Flint, to the Detroit Free Press, the Detroit News, and the Flint Journal, who won't cover this. We've paid thousands of dollars to send out a press release through the AP wire to make sure that everybody, every journalist, every outlet knows about what's happening in Flint. So far, we're running up against a wall. You can watch Jordan and my live yesterday for more on that. But I also got sick after Flint. and had to stay an extra 5 days because I was quarantined through the worries that even though I'm fully vaccinated and even though I've previously had COVID, we were concerned that I'd caught the Delta variant. And the doctor said I had to quarantine. So, again, we can't do this without you. I will say if you are at all able to help defray the cost of the trip we just came back on, including the time where I had to be quarantined, we would really appreciate it. We completely understand that not everybody has the financial means, and we don't expect that of you if you don't. But if you are able to help defray the cost of, it was over about like $110 extra per day for the hotel room where I had to stay for longer. And it, when Jordan and Colin were still there, we, the hotel rooms and the flights and the gas and the rental car, it really adds up, and we can't do this without you. So if you do have the means, it would be extraordinarily helpful. Jordan and I are both very nervous about finances right now for the company, and for us to be able to keep doing reporting. We're in a little bit of a hole right now because of the last reporting trip we took. So again, it really helps. GoFundMe.com/status coup. We will never give up on doing the important reporting we do, whether it's capturing historic footage in the Capitol or reporting on Flint or going down to interview Breonna Taylor's aunts when nobody else is even talking about Breonna Taylor anymore, shamefully. Going on our eviction moratorium tour, where we reported on stories like an autistic trans man who is being evicted and has literal sewage from other people's apartments coming up in his home, and has uneven floors and has holes in the walls and has completely unsafe stair rail that they were supposed to fix. If you guys can, write All Trade in Louisville, Kentucky, and shame them for it. But that's the type of reporting we do. I infiltrated to report on the Proud Boys at danger to myself. I've been attacked by police reporting. I've been attacked by racists while reporting. I caught COVID from Andrew Giuliani at Rudy Giuliani's crazy press conference. And then I ended up with long hauler COVID, which I still suffer daily. I try to hide it more, but it's really hard. And that's because of the passion for journalism. And as I've said, like with my last dying breath, I will try to keep reporting and try to keep reporting on Flint and try to keep reporting on these important stories. So all that is to say, like, we do need your help, and we could not have done what we've accomplished so far without you. And, but we, if you're able to, we need you. So GoFundMe.com/status coup. So I want to take just a few minutes for questions, comments, whatever. If you want to talk about Floyd, Hodges, questions, suggestion. So Faint Signals from Vegas says, may I suggest if there was a separate GoFundMe for each trip, you may attract anonymous philanthropists who frequent GoFundMe, of which there are many. That is a great point. So we set up specific like fundraiser pages for specific trips, but you're right, that doesn't get the traffic of GoFundMe. Our thing about GoFundMe is we've had ours running since 2018, and we don't want to seem greedy. I don't know if that makes sense, but like at one point we had you guys in the audience vote on if we should increase our fundraiser goal, which everyone said, yeah, of course you should. Because it's been running since 2018. And we certainly don't have the money in the bank that we've raised because it's all gone towards equipment and in-field trips. So I think that's a great and valid point about like anonymous fundraisers. I don't know though. I don't know. It's a good point. Let's see here. Okay, so we have that one. Oh, we also have GoFundMes. Got to love. I already read this one, but I'll read it again. $5 in the super chat. People party needed. Mark O'Brien, $1.99 in the super chat. Hello all. Hello, Mark. Mark again, $4.99 in the super chat, saying, love your background, Jen. Thank you. I do too. Actually, I have it like not framed well, but I have Bernie, and then I have JFK and Bobby. That's all we need, right? And got to love again. $5 in the super chat, saying revolution with a heart. Thank you, thank you. Andy P. Hey, Andy. $5 in super chat. Thank you, thank you. Mark, $4.99, saying Biden is a socialist. And yes, total demon. Yeah. Crazy, right? Like, what do people say? Chris says, Jen, did you hear the lawsuit filed by Dominion Voting against Rudy Giuliani and others was pushed forward? They're in trouble for their lies. I did hear that. Karma, I think, is a relevant word in this situation. John asks, let's see. John, where'd it go, John? Can you demand visual attribution when you license your footage to the MSM? Yes, we did. We did demand it. You should see in all cases, including with the freaking FBI, who I say that because, well, they're the FBI, but also because when outlets are grabbing that video, they're attributing it to the FBI, like, oh, footage from the FBI. It's like, no, dude, it's footage from freaking Status Coup that the FBI is using. Which, by the way, the FBI did not ask permission. Is that allowed? I don't know. I'm gonna ask our lawyer. But yes, in all cases, mainstream media is supposed to attribute it to Status Coup and John. So we own the copyright. Status Coup owns the copyright. It's attributed on MSM, like John Farina / Status Coup. So also you should see it, like there's an HBO documentary where it's going to be used. So, and I believe John's done some interviews and stuff. So yeah, I don't know, man. We'll see. Ooh. Maggie says Rudy is not a liar. Is that a joke? Like that's just like the opposite of reality. Is it still too soon to have a raffle? There are laws around raffles. So we have to be really careful with that for sure. Omar says JFK was assassinated for not being evil enough. True. Thank you, David Soul, $10 in the super chat, saying, I empathize with Mr. Roseberry, even though he didn't say it, between everything about his rant while driving to DC was screaming for the USA to finally have HR 1976 expanded and improved. Medicare for all in, none out. Medicare for all, absolutely. That's why I really wanted to emphasize the things that he said, because well, journalistically, everybody should be highlighting that because it's an important part of those videos, but also it's, it helps the cause. So definitely share that. I put it up on our Twitter, at Status Coup on Twitter. I meant to put it on Instagram. I'll do that after. Would you be interested in interviewing someone that Paul J. interviewed about the proliferation of Christian dominionists in the military? Yes, I would be. Email me, jenelizabeth@statuscoup.com. Andy says, I watched the JFK movie from Oliver Stone yesterday because of you. Never saw it before. Yay! Yeah, it's, Oliver Stone, actually, he has another one. I think this one's more documentary style. And he can't find a distributor. This is freaking Oliver Stone, and he can't find a distributor, which makes a lot of like JFK people think that this might have some major revelations. I'm gonna try to cozy up to Oliver and get a preview. Shout out, Oliver, hit me up. Let's have you on. Let's interview you, and let's have me be able to watch that video. The Ferrari Speed 499 super chat. Hi Jen, what donation method does Status Coup prefer? So we get, I would say, like, we get the most via either GoFundMe or straight PayPal. PayPal.me/status coup. I'll pop that in the chat. PayPal.me/status coup. But yeah, so GoFundMe.com/status coup or PayPal.me/status coup. Or if you just like to get on PayPal and use whatever function in there, the email attached to it is info@statuscoup.com. But I mean, any way helps. We don't want to appear desperate, but we're really a small company doing a lot of big things. And so we appreciate all of you so much. Chris says there's a massive organization that advises the Pentagon called Christian Embassy. They did a promo video that was terrifying, but it got removed everywhere. Oh my God. Can someone email me and remind me to look for that or figure that out? I know that there's that crazy Netflix docuseries called The Family, and it's this insane group of Christians. I mean, no offense to anyone who's a Christian. I grew up under extreme Christian circumstances, so I'm a little bitter. So I don't mean to demean anyone's religion, but this, I can say these are crazy Christians in The Family, and just how much they rule politics in our country. Michelle asks, where can I see that guy's Facebook videos? So they've been taken down basically everywhere. There was one in particular that was super hard to find. If you go to the heavy.com article about him, about Floyd, you can find the one where he talks about healthcare, where you can find the clip on our at Status Quo on Twitter. Otherwise, it's real tough. There was one woman who was like uploading them to YouTube, but some of them, at least one of them, has gotten taken down. So I don't know. It is tough to find the videos. We have them all, but we can't publish them because they've been taken down. So, oh, Chris, if you don't mind, can you later, or someone email it to me, jenelizabeth@statuscoup.com. Jean says Graham Elwood and Lee Camp had an episode on JFK on their show Government Secrets. Yeah, I heard that they got in trouble for that, or like YouTube took it down, or maybe that was when they demonetized Graham. Just whoa. That's why we actually had to, we talked about JFK stuff yesterday, but we had to do it on Rockfin. So we're going to be doing actually a series on Rockfin about like conspiracy theories, but stuff is backed up by facts. And we'll be very clear when we're speculating versus when we have actual facts. Like yesterday, we had actual, declassified docs that we were talking about, etc. On our rockfin.com/status quo. So yeah, that's what drives me crazy, is like, it's one thing to have QAnon and just wacky stuff. Like QAnon, I think, this is my opinion, QAnon, I think, is a total op, and it's just not so crazy. But it's one thing to have that, but then and this was their whole goal. This was like the CIA's whole goal, is anyone talking about conspiracy theories is labeled as a wacky lunatic, which is of course not the case, because of course conspiracies exist. Of course they do. And we have proof of that. So yeah, I could go on about conspiracy theories. I'm very into conspiracy theories with a sane, like, journalistic mind about me. And I'm very into cults, not like joining them or running them, but understanding them, like understanding why people join them. I always want to figure out what makes people tick. Like why, how do people fall into this sort of deal? Chris, yes, that is correct. That is my correct email. Michelle says, do you have a website that I can hear in for myself? No, because other than the one short clip we put up, I honestly don't feel like it's safe for our social accounts to put more up. So we just have them downloaded and we transcribed them, or we had the Happy Scribe automated system transcribe them. So I would suggest, just digging around it. It's a real PIA that it's all gone now. David asks, either I clearly missed it or it hasn't been stated, but where is Jordan today? Still in Flint? No, we've been back from Flint for, I don't know, time escapes me, but we've been back for a week or two. And so Jordan is actually taking a much deserved day off. He has a couple of friends visiting him, so he's taking a day off, which is very, very good. And he is taking tomorrow off as well. He never truly takes days off, so he's having a good time with some buds today. Cheryl says, sorry to hear about the bombings and radicalizations that are going on. Hope that can improve. Thank you, Cheryl, up there in Canada, our more sane neighbors. David says, I want Medicare for all, for everyone. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, libertarians, QAnon, flat earthers, anti-vaxxers, progressives, Trump supporters, the rich, the poor. In other words, everyone. I agree, David. I believe that it is, in fact, a human right. Jessica says, what does healthcare radicalized mean? Well, the headline is, maybe you're not getting the whole headline. I don't know, because it's like, I can't remember the exact thing, but it's like the Capitol bomb suspect like wants healthcare, and then also he's been radicalized by Trump and Trump supporters. So that is that. Not provided says, do you think there might be a morsel of truth to QAnon, like with Jeffrey Epstein? Well, so that's the thing about QAnon. And that's why it's an op, in my opinion, in my estimation. Because of course there's a morsel of truth. Of course we have a child sex trafficking problem. Of course we do. Of course Jeffrey Epstein did what he did, right? But how do you obscure that? Or how do you take people's attention away? Well, you come up with a wacky conspiracy theory that discredits everything that's real. I mean, I can't even I don't even want to say some of the stuff that some QAnoners believe, because it could get us kicked off. But so it has a morsel of truth, which is why it's been so effective in a couple of ways. It's been effective in totally brainwashing and warping a hell of a lot of people. If you look at the subreddit QAnon casualties, it's devastating. It's horrible. This is ripping apart families. People are, a guy murdered his children because they were Jewish, or because his wife is Jewish. And so he murdered the children because he believed that they would become demons. And he's a QAnon guy. So the danger is, well, obvious, but it's also it's the danger of, there is real stuff going on. There are really children being trafficked. There are really women being trafficked. It's awful. There are pedophiles. Absolutely. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of them were in high places of power. The name escapes me, but that guy who was from the UK, and he was famous. And he turned out to be a big pedophile, Jimmy Savile or something. So we know, and we know Jeffrey Epstein, we know that he has these insane connections. So yeah, there's truth, but that's how they get people, is because there are morsels of truth. So they get you in the door, and then you get radicalized, to use that word again, and more brainwashed and more in the hole. So QAnon has succeeded in taking people away from things that matter and filling their heads with nonsense and filling them with fear, but for things that don't exist versus the things that do exist. And because QAnon is so batshit crazy, it helps to discredit the real issue of child sex trafficking and Jeffrey Epstein, etc. So it's infuriating and sad, for sure. Jeffrey Kale says QAnon came with Trump and was used to deflect all of his controversies. I think, partially. My guess is, my feeling is that Trump is totally detached from QAnon, but he likes it because they like him and think he's like a savior. And I think that plays right into what Trump wants. So, yeah, I think it isn't directly connected to him, but I think he's like, all right, I like this. Like, they think I'm a god. Amazing. So, from what we know, it's most likely the Watkins who were behind this. But I think that due to its spread, I really think it's an op. I really do. I don't have evidence of that, which I have to make very clear. Chris says QAnon especially gets spread among Facebook mom groups that are notorious for MLMs already, but now it's getting worse. Yeah, so that's become a huge problem in so-called hippie communities, whatever, like yoga, like Gaia spaces. It's people, because there are elements there where people find like common ground, like maybe holistic folks don't like the vax or whatever, or certain mom groups, which I was definitely part of when my kids were younger. Some wacky stuff can get passed around there. So I see like the entry point for all of this stuff. It's spreading. And it's because of those kernels of truth. And I think like those who are behind it know that. I don't know that the Watkins are like smart enough to have something go this not even viral, this like world changing now, not even just country changing. It's like taking over everywhere. Yeah. Dana, of course, it's not wacky to be holistic and do yoga. Are you? Dana's like, I'm just gonna find joy in you, Dana, because you have done a fantastic job of like literally twisting everything I say today. Amazing, amazing. Michelle says, I'm stressed out. I live in New York City near Times Square. There was a bomb threat today and an evacuation. A lot is going on right now all at once. Jesus, man, I didn't hear about that. That's awful. Libby says, I am also into learning about cults and why people are drawn. My mother was in a cult in Oregon in the 70s. She called it her dark days, and she didn't talk about it a lot except for a few things. Wow, Libby, that's fascinating and sad. It sounds like she got out, which is great. But yeah, I share that interest. I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated by it for sure. I get the draw, right? Like the world is hard. The country is hard. Everything's hard. And we all want a utopia. And so cult-like figures give such big promises and promise you kind of that utopia. So I get that for sure. For sure. I'm just so fascinated. Like I found a book on Audible or somewhere because when I go to sleep, I like to listen to audiobooks, and it's like a new cult book that I had somehow missed. And it's about the psychology of cults. Like I got so excited. This was last week sometime or earlier this week. I texted Jordan. I sent him a screenshot and I was like, I couldn't stop talking. I was like, oh my God, I am so excited. This is so perfect. Like this has Jen written all over it. And he's like, okay, cool. It's like, could there be a more perfect book than a book about the psychology of cults for me? Like that is just so like I literally am very excited. I haven't even started it. I can't believe I have it. But that's very me. Gary Dean says the two-party system is a cult. No, it's not. The two-party system is a total disaster and a horror shit show, but it's not a cult. A cult is a very specific sort of thing, which we can talk about. Jessica says the mega churches are cults. Yes, that is a yes. That is definitely a yes on that, because there are elements of cults and that matters. So cult doesn't like mean bad or shit show, which is what the two-party system is. Cult has certain factors that matter. So yes, the mega churches are cults. The two-party duopoly is indeed not. The two-party duopoly is horrible. It's horrible. We need more parties. We need to overcome that. And people, obviously, if you've been in the online left lately, people have very different ideas about how to accomplish that. Faint signals from Vega. Trish says Trump appears to have already started his 2024 campaign run. I mean, yep, it's yikes. I don't even know what to say. I really wonder if Trump, like, yeah, I don't know. Because I always thought before Trump lost, I was like, okay, the next like Republican bigwig is going to be probably like Tucker Carlson. And I thought that because he seemed to be angling himself that way. And in certain ways, he was even like dissenting from Trump a little bit sometimes, but he also had the respect of like where the right is going now, which is in a lot of bad places. But the young right, it seems to be more anti-war. Like they latched onto that more populist anti-imperialism message, which Trump didn't actually ever believe in, of course, but they latched onto that, and like Tucker latched onto that. And we know that like the country doesn't care about hiring a TV star. So I don't know. I thought that, but there could be DeSantis, there could be whoever. We could like really burn our country down and have Marjorie Taylor Greene. Oh my God, who knows? But it's a lot. It's hard to speculate this early because yeah, sure, Trump wants to run, but I don't know what's happening behind the scenes. It's a real shit show. I don't know, man. It's hard. It's hard to predict this far out because who knows what could happen with Biden? Who knows what could happen with, Kamala, like whatever. Who knows? I don't have the answers. The Ferrari Speed 499, the super duper chat, saying, how did you and Jordan meet? What is your origin story leading to status quo? That's a great question. So Jordan and I met, we actually met the first time at the DNC in 2016, like the convention. But we became friends and started like working together with his former nonprofit, which Truth Against the Machine. And then after TYT, well, so we became, there's something about like Jordan and I became friends very quickly. We've always just kind of gotten each other. We sometimes drive each other insane. He'll tell you it's me. I'll tell you it's him. But we have like a shared journalistic vision, and yeah, we've always just kind of gotten along. In some ways, I feel like I've always known him sort of deal. And so through the year, I mean, it's like kind of a longer story, but like back when there was false smear takedown attempts of Jordan, you know, I became quite close to his family as well. And then, you know, after he was gone from TYT, he really became like he's family to me. He's a brother to me. He's a great friend. We've done a lot for each other. He's done a hell of a lot for me. He was like the first person in my life who I have a lot of childhood trauma, and was like the first person to say like, you need to go to therapy and like get help and stuff like that. And he's really gone out of his way to help in so many ways. So he's truly family. Like, I adore his parents and his brothers. And so, yeah, after he left TYT, it was like, okay, we know what we want to do. And I didn't have the journalism background. I'd always wanted to be a journalist, but other than Truth Against the Machine, I had never like fulfilled that dream. I've always had, and I don't like talk myself up ever. But I think like what I'm good at is research and digging and like never letting go. And I'm a writer. I've always been a writer. And so it's, yeah, I always wanted to do journalism. I ended up teaching for a year after I graduated college. Then I had my 2 kids, and I had to find a way to stay home with them and still make money because we didn't have enough money otherwise. So I got into digital marketing and copywriting and ghostwriting, both fiction and nonfiction. And then I got tired of it, you know, after like a decade of marketing and stuff. It's like, I don't care about this stuff. I want to do something that I care about. So then when I started doing some work with Jordan and Truth Against the Machine, and like, then we got the idea to start Status Coup. It was like, okay, this is what we need to start, something that is what journalism really is. Because even back when Jordan was at TYT, where he did have some freedom, his boss, I'm sure you guys can guess who, would be like, why do you want to go to Flint again? Why are you going back to Flint? Why? It's like, dude, it's because it's journalism. So in starting Status Coup, which took a long time to come up with the name, maybe we should do like a members video, like talking about all this stuff too, with me and Jordan. It was like, okay, we're going to do an investigative journalism, and we're going to do on the ground journalism. We're going to talk to people, and we're going to actually do what journalists are supposed to do, which seems like a simple idea, but there's nothing exists like Status Coup. Nothing does. So that's, yeah, we started it. And with my kind of business and marketing background, and he's worked in media for a very long time. So that's how that kind of started. And it's been hard. Yeah, Henry, Jordan Sheridan Reports is what we started with before. That was always going to be a precursor to Status Coup, until we could get, you know, the corporation up and running and stuff like that. But yeah, the Jordan Sheridan Reports days, the OGs will remember, like, Jordan has very terrible handwriting, but he like made this sign that he would put behind him for like the Patreon, and he would like make these handmade signs. It was very funny. So that's how we started it. But yeah, Jordan's truly a brother to me, truly family to me. So that's why it like drives me insane when people lie about him, you know, with all that stuff from 4 years ago, which you OGs will remember, the takedown smears, which it's insane because we literally have like literal plots of trying to take him down, like trying to get him fired, trying to like take him down, like Harvey Weinstein, etc. It's like this has all been so debunked, and we are here 4 years later, and people are still smearing him, like not like just people who like heard about it back then or whatever, or just hate him for whatever reason. And it's like, dude, do you guys understand how hurtful that is? Like, to Anat, who I love, Jordan's wife, her having to see that stuff, Jordan's mom having to see that stuff about her son who would never hurt anybody. Like, it's insane, and it makes me really, really sad. Like, it infuriates me when people lie or smear about him because he's family. So yeah, that's a long-winded way of sharing the tale, but he's a good person who drives me crazy. So, all right, guys, we've been going for almost 2 hours. I love you all. And oh yeah, so Trish is saying, I think there are paid trolls to bother and smear indie journalists. 100%. I also have evidence that this was coordinated beyond what we've talked about. So absolutely, beware, beware out there. Yeah, so I love you all. Again, we had some deep expenses. That's not the right word, but words escape me. We had some extra added expenses because of my COVID scare after Flint, where I had to stay quarantined in the hotel, and from the trip in general. And also, like, sending out that press release was $3,000, guys. I haven't said the number yet because it makes my heart pound fast and makes me sweat. But it was like, we're so desperate to get the Flint story out and make a difference, sending it to tens of thousands of outlets and journalists. It seemed like a good bet to take. Like, they're going to have to cover it, right? The House Oversight Committee is investigating. We're going to send out this press release. It'll be up on the AP's website. They'll pick it up. They'll report on it, right? $3,000. Oh my God. It's going to work, right? Well, not so far. But we're not going to stop trying. But if you're able to help us dig us out of this hole, I think our hearts are in the right place, and we work really hard, and we can't do this without you. So again, if you're able to help defray some of these costs, it would be amazing. GoFundMe.com/statuscoup, GoFundMe.com/statuscoup, or PayPal.me/statuscoup. I love you all. I will be back tomorrow, and keep on keeping on. And if you find any cult stuff or conspiracy theories, send them my way. Bye, guys.